Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to JR's House of Craziness. We got a little bit of something different for you. We have our first ever episode of JR's Top 10. And today we will be discussing this is my personal opinion, the top 10 greatest country singers of all time. So that ranges everything from the old school country and western to new day to everything in between. So the top 10 greatest country music singers of all time. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and don't forget to let me know down below if you think I missed anybody, if there's somebody in the top 10 that you don't agree with. Let me know. Be nice about it. You don't need to be bashing because, like I said, this is my personal top 10. So, and I am going to leave myself out of it, even though I think I'm in the top 10 of the greatest country singers of all time. Although I'm sitting in my house alone while the kids are upstairs and everything. So, the top 10 greatest country singers of all time. Let's start it up. All right, number 10 on our top 10 greatest country singers of all time is Mr. Vince Gill. Now, Vince Gill has a very, very unique voice, in my opinion. One of the best high man, if you want to call him that. So Vince Gill, he was born in Norman, Oklahoma, and he burst onto the scene back in the early 80s. He actually started in a country rock band called Pure Prairie League in 1979. He was on their album Can't Hold Me Back, and he was a lead singer on their big song Let Me Love You Tonight. And then after that, in 1981, early 80s, he went solo. He got himself a deal, but he really didn't catch on until about 1989 when he signed with MCA Records. And as of 2018, now this is a couple of years ago, because he's kind of fallen to the wayside. He's more bluegrass than anything at this point. But as of 2018, he had won 21 Grammy Awards, and he's won more CMA awards than any other performer in history. So he's had quite a few albums. He was top new male vocalist in 1984. He had the Song of the Year in 1992 with I Still Believe in You. That is a classic. He was the 1992 and 1993 top male vocalist, and that was the Academy of Country Music Awards. The CMA Awards he's gotten, he's had Single of the Year in 1990 with When I Call Your Name. He was the Male Vocalist of the Year in 91 and 92. He had the Song of the Year in 92 at Look at Us, and just all sorts of he's been Entertainer of the Year 2 times, Male Vocalist of the Year 4 times, and he's also won the Award of Excellence and Humanitarian Award for the CMAs, and the Grammy Awards, just too many to even discuss at this point. He is a Country Music Hall of Famer, a Nashville Songwriters Hall of Famer, as well as has his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So, number 10, Vince Gill, one of the greats. Number 9 on our list of greatest country music singers is none other than the original Hank Williams Sr. Yes, Hank Williams Sr. Now, Hank Williams Sr. had a bit of a tragic ending. He was only 30 years old when he passed away on January 1st, 1953. He was born September 17th, 1923, and he's widely regarded as one of the most influential recording artists ever, honestly. So he recorded 35 singles that reached the top 10 on the Billboard Country and Western Best-Selling charts, which ranks number 11 or 11 were ranked number one. Now, what's really impressive is 5 of his singles reached top 10 status posthumously. So after he passed away, he was still winning stuff. He was still selling records. And 3 of those posthumously released singles reached number one. So he was well ahead of his time. His family, Hank Williams Jr., Hank Williams III, they're all country singers. Hank Williams Jr. has had a really great career, but I don't think he's ever gotten quite up there to what his daddy was. He's won quite a few awards. He got the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 1987. He had the Best Country Vocal Collaboration with his son in 1989. So some 46 years after he died, he was winning Grammys. That was 1989 with There's a Tear in My Beer, which also won Music Video of the Year, Vocal Event of the Year, and Video of the Year. And then he won the Pulitzer Prize for Special Awards and Citation for his pivotal role in transforming country music. So he was well ahead of his time, one of the greatest singers that I have ever heard. And he was doing this back in the 20s and 30s. So if you have not heard a lot of his songs, I know everybody's kind of heard There's a Tear in My Beer and all his really, really popular stuff. Go check out all of his music because it's amazing. So number 9 on our list, Hank Williams Sr. Number 8 on our list. Now I'm a bit partial to this performer as he is my biggest influence as a singer. He is none other than Mr. Garth Brooks. Now this is the greatest country singers of all time, not greatest country or just in general entertainers of all time, because he would be number 1 for that. But since this is a singing top 10, he is at number 8. So Garth Brooks, born February 7th, 1962, and he was kind of the originator of country rock. Now when he first started with much too young to feel this damn old and the dance, that kind of stuff is country, but with Ain't Going Down and Friends in Low Places, now they're country music, but there's a bit of rock in there. So Garth Brooks, arguably the greatest country artist of all time. He started out in Oklahoma singing in bars and singing covers and all of that. And a funny story is the people in his town raised a couple $100 to send him to Nashville, and they were like, he's never coming back. Well, he drove to Nashville. He was there for an hour, and he went back to Oklahoma. Granted, he went back, and the rest is history. But he broke through in 89, 90 with Much Too Young to Feel This Damn Old was his first big hit. And then If Tomorrow Never Comes and The Dance came after that. His first major concert tour, he was actually an opener for Kenny Rogers. He did, everybody knows who Garth Brooks is. Even if you're not a country fan, you know who he is. He was divorced. He got married to Trisha Yearwood, who he affectionately refers to as Miss Yearwood. But the awards that this guy has won are unbelievable. He's won Entertainer of the Year countless times, and Song of the Year, and Video of the Year, and he's sang at the Super Bowl, the national anthem, and everything. So he's got a lot of different CDs. everything from the original Garth Brooks to the newest album that'll be coming out soon, Fun. He's done Christmas CDs and everything. So he's been in movies. He's done Saturday Night Live. He crossed over into the pop genre with the whole Chris Gaines thing. If you're not sure about the Chris Gaines thing, you need to go to Netflix and watch This Road I'm On. It's a great documentary, and it explains exactly what happened with that. Basically, they were going to make a movie about this Australian pop star named Chris Gaines, and they released the album before the movie came out. And then the movie never happened, so everybody thought that he went crazy. So that's kind of the story with that. He's currently doing his Garth Brooks Stadium tour, which I have been to. It was amazing. And just overall, Garth Brooks is the greatest entertainer to ever walk the earth. Don't at me. But yeah, so there you have it. Number 8 on our countdown, Garth Brooks. Number 7 on our 10 greatest country singers of all time is none other than Johnny Cash. Yes, how can you do a country music singer list? Now, this is the male version. I don't know if I've mentioned that, but this is the greatest country music singers of all time, male version. I'll do a female version at a later date because they're all great in their own respect. But Johnny Cash comes in at number 7, and how can you not include the Man in Black on this list? Born February 26th, 1932, passed away September 12th, 2003. He did just about everything. He did his own TV show. He toured. He went to prison. He killed a man. All of that. So, I mean, we all know his most popular songs: Folsom Prison Blues, Ring of Fire, Get Rhythm, Man in Black, Hurt, Jackson, that he did with his wife Rosanne Cash. He enlisted in the United States Air Force back in 1950 and served in the Air Force. But really, he moved to Memphis, Tennessee in 1954 and sold appliances while studying to be a radio announcer. Which, I mean, with that kind of voice, that's a radio voice. But he had quite the hard luck life, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I mean, Johnny Cash, one of the greatest of all time in country music, not only singing, but much like Garth Brooks, entertaining. He was part of the Highwaymen. That was with Chris Christopherson and Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson and all of that. So had their own little club. But he was a very religious man. He put out some gospel albums. There was a movie made about him starring Joaquin Phoenix called Walking Tall. But he had so many different awards. He was in movies. Just a never-ending list of accomplishment for the Man in Black, Johnny Cash, who falls in at number 7 on our top 10 greatest male country singers of all time. All right, and coming in at number 6 on our top 10 greatest male country music singers is none other than the King, George the Strait. George Strait, ladies and gentlemen. George Strait Sr., by the way. He does have a son that does play a little bit of music, if you weren't aware of that. But George Strait he had his first single on country radio called Unwound, and it was a hit in 1981. And during the 80s, 7 of his album reached number 1. He's been Entertainer of the Year. He's been everything. So he was in the United States Army as an infantryman, and he went to Texas State University in San Marcos. and graduated with a degree in agriculture. So, and again, just like, Johnny Cash, you cannot make a list of the greatest country singers of all time, male wise, without George Strait, the King. His nickname is the King for a reason. He ruled the 1980s and portions of the 90s and is still relevant today. He just did a tour that came through Minneapolis not too long ago. Wouldn't have minded going to that, but did not get there. He's been in movies. He was the star of the great country rodeo movie, Pure Country, and everything. I mean, he's had so many different awards that you can't even list them. I mean, everything from top male vocalist of the year to album of the year to top country artist, entertainer of the year, to the Connie B. Gay Award, to the entertainer of the year, to the Presidential American Success Award, single of the year, album of the year, best single, best male vocalist, favorite line dance song, favorite collaborative song, just, I mean, so many. 50th anniversary milestone award, the Icon Award, the Legends Awards, just everything. I mean, George Strait is the king, and my favorite entertainer of all time, Garth Brooks, contributes a lot to George Strait because he was a big influence on him. So number 6 on our top 10 greatest male country singers of all time, George Strait. All right, number 5 on our country's greatest male singers of all time, top 10, is none other than George Jones, the old possum. George Jones was one of those guys that at some points in his life, he was always getting in trouble. He was getting arrested for driving his lawnmower drunk, and everything. But he served in the United States Marine Corps from 1950 to 1953. He was married a whole bunch of times. Born September 12th, 1931 in Saratoga, Texas. He first started recording music in the music biz in 1954. And one of his first songs that he wrote was called No Money in This Deal. It was kind of a bash at the record company because he wasn't making enough money. But then he really broke out in 1959 with his first #1 single, White Lightning, which obviously is about moonshine, the Moonshine Runners. But he had a lot of hits in the 50s and early 60s, and then 1964 hit, and he really got into alcohol and some drugs and just bad things happening to him, and that went on for like 15 years. He was really on the decline, but then he made his comeback in 1980, and He Stopped Loving Her Today came out on the radio, and that's what most people will think of when they think of George Jones, is He Stopped Loving Her Today. I mean, that's in his later years. He was still putting out tunes. I Don't Need Your Rocking Chair and those kind of songs, and he had his signature glasses and the hair. I call it the Donald Trump hair. It just did not move. But he had a few kids and did a lot of duets with a lot of different people, and won a lot of awards. He's got the Lifetime Achievement Award and Entertainer of the Year Awards and Male Vocalist of the Year Awards and things like that. But George Jones, one of the iconic voices in country music, and one of the iconic people, really, because he had his ups And when he was up, folks. But when he was down, you couldn't get any more rock bottom than what George Jones hit. So, number 5 on our list today of the top 10 greatest male country music singers, George Jones. All right, number 4 on our top 10 greatest country music singers of all time is none other than the old stoner himself, Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson was born April 29th, 1933, and he first found really big success in 1973 with Shotgun Willie, and Red-Headed Stranger and Stardust and things like that. But he got started in music back in 1956. He was hired by KVAN in Vancouver, Washington, and frequently appeared on the show. Made his first record in 1956 called No Place for Me, and he's been going strong ever since. He was part of that outlaw country music with Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and Chris Christopherson and all of that, but with the Highwaymen. But I mean, he has such an iconic voice. When you hear it, you know who it is, and he's been so big for so long, and I have no idea how he's still alive, to be honest with you. Everybody knows that Willie is very well known for liking to smoke the pot. He likes the marijuana, and he's not afraid to let you know about that. So, Willie Nelson, I mean, he's won multiple awards, and he's just an icon of the country music world. He's been an activist most of his life. He performed at Live Aid. He is the co-chair of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, shocker, and he's done interviews with the magazine High Times. He's campaigned for presidents. He's played for presidents. He's had legal issues. He's been up and down his whole life. But yes, number 4 on our top 10 greatest country male singers of all times, the old stoner himself, Willie Nelson. All right, number 3 on our 10 greatest country male singers of all time is one of the sadder ones. Although he had a very short career, unlike the other people on our list, it only spanned about 6 years. But it is Keith Whitley. A lot of people tend to forget about Keith Whitley, but he was only 44 years old when he died in 1989. But he had one of the greatest country voices ever, and who knows what he could have done if he would have kept going, because he really didn't catch on until about 1983. He had his first top 20 hit with Miami My Amy, and it was released in 1986. And in 1988, his first 3 singles from his studio album Don't Close Your Eyes, with the great song When You Say Nothing at All, which was later popularized by Alison Krauss, and the song I'm No Stranger to the Rain were number 1 hits. Now, I put Keith Whitley on this list, and I put him up here pretty high because, in my opinion, his sound itself, his voice, is one of the best that I have ever heard. Now, granted, I was 3 years old when this man died. I wasn't even born when his first big singles went on the radio. Actually, he was not 44. He was 34. 34 years old. I'm 34 years old, folks, and He died of alcohol poisoning. Much like a lot of famous people have their issues with alcohol and drugs. Um, but I mean, Keith Whitley, a very short career, but a memorable one for sure. So I put him at number three. He could very easily be number one in my book. But number three seems fitting for him. He's had some posthumous releases, and he's won some awards. I think he was best new artist back in the late '80s there when he was going. But unfortunately for him, he died at a very young age of 34. And as you can see in the picture, one of the greatest perm mullets of all time. I mean, you can't argue with that. So number three on our list of top 10 greatest male country singers of all time, Keith Whitley. All right, folks, we are getting down to the nitty gritty. We are at number two on our top 10 greatest male country singers of all time. And number two is going to go to Conway Twitty. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Twitty. Conway Twitty had just an amazing voice. He was right on par with Elvis. As a matter of fact, they sounded quite similar. He was born September 1st, 1933, and he passed away on June 5th, 1993. I remember that day quite vividly. We lived up on the farm, and I heard about it, and I know I didn't know what death was at that point. I was 7 years old, so he was married to Loretta Lynn, and he's been inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Rockabilly Hall of Fame. Now, his real name is Harold Lloyd Jenkins, and allegedly in 1957, he decided his real name was not memorable enough and sought a better show business name. So he went with Conway Twitty. He kind of got started in 1958 using his new stage name and signed with MGM Records. He got rolling. His first big single was on the B side, "It's Only Make Believe," which everybody remembers that. That was kind of pop at that point. Everybody considered it pop. He didn't really step into the country music realm until roughly 1965, and he had a few singles beginning in 1968 or he had a lot of singles, I should say, that touched the top five. In 1973, he released "You've Never Been This Far Before," which was number one in country for 3 weeks in September, and also reached number 22 on the pop charts, so a little bit of crossover. What a lot of people don't know is Conway Twitty played baseball. It was his second passion. He received an offer to play with the Phillies after high school, but he was drafted into the Army, so there went his baseball career. Like I said, he died June 4th, 1993. He was performing in Branson, Missouri, and he collapsed on his tour bus, and he was rushed to the hospital. He died of a abdominal aortic aneurysm at the Cox Hospital in Springfield, Missouri, at the age of 59. He's had some posthumous releases, tons and tons of awards, Vocal Duo of the Year, Album of the Year, Top Male Vocalist of the Year, the Pioneer Award, Vocal Duo of the Year. He's had people have covered his music and everything. So Conway Twitty, one of the most iconic and recognizable and greatest music singers of all time, not just country, coming in at number two on our top 10 greatest male country music singers of all time, Conway Twitty. All right, we have made it to the top of our list, the very tippy top of our list of the top 10 greatest male country singers of all time. This one's going to be a bit of a shocker for some folks, but in my opinion, the greatest country singer of all time, one of the, no, I'm going to go ahead and say it, the most iconic sound of all time, Mr. Randy Travis. Now, Randy Travis was born Randy Trawick, May 4th, 1959, and he is an American country music and gospel music singer, songwriter, guitarist, and actor. He's been active. He first burst onto the scene in 1978. He's recorded 20 studio albums and charted more than 50 singles on the Billboard Country Music Song charts, including 16 that have reached the number one position. And widely considered a very pivotal figure in the country music history. Now, let me tell you why that is. So when he burst on the scene in the late 70s, early 80s, it was very much an outlaw country sound and almost pop country for that time. Now, Randy Travis brought back the old school country music sound with his southern twang and that steel guitar riding along. I mean, just fantastic. One of my favorite artists of all times. I wish I could sing his stuff. I wish I could do it justice. I just can't. Now, like I said, his musical career started in '79, and he all the way up until the 2012, 2013, he was rolling right along. So he kind of went through some hard times. 2012, he was found drunk and naked in his truck, and then in 2013, he got a really, really bad viral upper respiratory infection, and he almost died. And since then, he has not been able to sing. For a while, he wasn't able to talk or anything. He performed a rendition of Amazing Grace in 2016, which, I mean, it was fantastic to hear him. It just wasn't the same Randy Travis. But he is trying to come back. In September 2019, he said he would return to touring. And the tour would feature James Dupree as lead vocalist singing the repertoire with Travis's band backing. So they're gonna be touring, and he'll be there. He just won't be singing. So his discography spans everything from 1986 with Storms of Life up until this year with the upcoming Precious Memories, which is a worship and faith sound. He's been on TV. He's been in movies. He's gotten so many awards that it's crazy to even look at. I mean, top new male vocalist, album of the year, single of the year, entertainer of the year, Cliffstone Pioneer Award, video of the year, favorite country singer or single, favorite country music male artist, the Horizon Award, album of the year, just so many. And honestly, I see why, because he is number one on our country music's top 10 greatest male singers of all time list. Randy Travis. All right, folks, let me know what you think of this list. Let's give you another rundown real quick of our top 10 greatest male country singers of all time. Number 10 was Vince Gill, also one of the greatest guitar players ever. Number 9, Hank Williams Sr. Number 8, the great Garth Brooks. Number 7, the iconic Man in Black, Johnny Cash. Number 6, the King, George Strait. Number 5, the old possum himself, George Jones. Number 4, the old stoner, Willie Nelson. Number 3, the late, great, taken much too young, Keith Whitley. Number 2, arguably could have been number 1, Conway Twitty. And number 1, the number 1 greatest male country music singer of all time, Randy Travis. Let me know what you thought about this list. Don't forget to click that button down below to let you know when I make a new video, because you never know when I'm going to drop something or when I might do the female version of this list. So go ahead and comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.